Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm It's Robbie Rhino, and in today's video we are taking a look at the M551 Sheridan, which is an Era 2 US light tank for the Western Alliance. It comes after the T-92 light tank and before the Stingray, and it's an absolute blast to play. It's a bit of a meme. It has a 152mm gun launcher, and I'd go as far as to say it's one of, if not the best, Era 2 damage dealing light tanks. As you can see, it's got a slightly larger profile than most of the other light tanks in Era 2. It's kind of more like a hybrid light tank medium, but it makes up for its lack of camo rating in, still fairly decent mobility and, really nice firepower. So I'm going to run down the statistics, my equipment and commander setup, and I have 3 gameplays for you. The first is on El Alamein, as I nearly drove off that cliff and finished my game too early. But yeah, I have 3 gameplays for you. The first is kind of a typical game that I've been having in this tank in terms of damage and assistance wise, and the next 2 are really really nice games, and what you can do and what this tank is capable of if you play to its strengths. And in a minute you'll have a nice interaction with a BMP1 or BMP2, I can't remember which, where it comes off bad for me but even worse for the BMP, and it just shows you what awesome firepower this tank has, especially against tanks that don't have any armor themselves. So on to the statistics. It has 2,350 hit points fully upgraded and 535 meters view range, which is ample in both regards, the hit points and the view range. Mobility wise, it isn't quite as good as the other light tanks in Era 2, however it's still very nice. It feels very nice, it handles well. It's got a 400 horsepower engine, a 25.48 horsepower to ton ratio. It goes 69.2 kilometers an hour forwards, and the downside to it is it only goes 14 kilometers an hour backwards, as we put a nice ATGM there into that BMP2. And we'll just hold off on the statistics while we finish this engagement. He's just pounding us with that automatic gun there, and it's a real pain. But I load an HE round and put it into the side of the BMP2 for over 1,000 damage and finish him off. So that just goes to show that this tank can hold its own against other light tanks. So yeah, the 14 kilometers an hour reverse, it can be a problem if you are spotted and you have to reverse out of trouble. So I recommend trying to maybe face your rear to the enemies if you're able to with the gun depression, but if not, just be mindful that it's 14 kilometers an hour backwards, and that is slow and you can be caught out by that. Traverse wise, your turret and your hull traverse is 42 degrees a second, which isn't too bad for this sort of size profile of this tank. As you can see, it's not the smallest, but it still handles well. It's not as good as something like an Armadillo or something like that has like insane camo rating and mobility, but it's still good nonetheless. Armor wise, yeah, it doesn't really have any armor. It might get a random ricochet angle where you might absorb a shot onto your tracks, but do not rely on this armor whatsoever. It's like 50mm is the sort of highest armor plate that you can find, and effective angling is like 150mm at an extreme angle on the upper and lower plate if you're really lucky, I believe. So yeah, just don't rely on your armor. And it doesn't have that sort of square spaced armor hitbox kind of thing on the back that the World War II Sheridan has. There's like a square box on the back of the Sheridan. It's like it's just spaced armor basically. It's not really a hitbox, and there's no armor behind it, and yeah, it'll just absorb shots, but it doesn't have that. As you can see, it's a slightly different shape than the World War II, which is always nice to have a bit of variety. So in terms of the gun, and this is where it gets really fun, the 152mm gun launcher is absolutely insane. It's got 3.64 rounds a minute. It's got HE rounds, heat rounds, and ATGMs. The HE rounds do 1,100 damage with 170 pen. The heat rounds do 660 damage with 380 pen. And the ATGMs do 1,100 damage with 450 pen on it. The shell velocity is slow because it is a gun launcher. It's a derpy gun. The shell velocity on the HE and heat is 683 meters a second, and on the ATGMs it's 320 meters a second. So obviously, you just got to get used to firing and leading the targets, and get used to firing the ATGMs. It's got a 16.5 second base reload. It's got a 2.9 second aim time and a 0.4 meters accuracy, which, yeah, as you can see, it's not the most accurate. It is a derp gun, but you can get that down with your commander and equipment setup. It carries 39 rounds, 10 degrees of gun depression, but only 5 over the back, and 20 degrees of elevation. And the DPM with HE is 4,000, which, if you can penetrate, that's absolutely fantastic, and a DPM of 2,402 with the heat round. So we're going to hop into the next replay, and we'll talk about what is happening there, and I'll also go over my commander and equipment setup. So see you there in a bit. So we're now into the second replay of the video. We're here on Desfall, and I'll just talk you through my commander and equipment setup, and then we'll talk about the gameplay and my sort of strategies in the Sheridan. So equipment-wise, I run advanced loader, gun stabilizer, and traction system, just trying to keep up with the light tanks and evade getting hit by the heavy tanks if they come too close. The gun stabilizer, I just, I want to get my accuracy as good as possible with the heat and the HE rounds. Commander-wise, I run 6th Sense, Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Muffled Shot, and Green Thumb. All of those camo skills is because I run this commander on my Armadillo as well, but it also does help this large profile sort of light tank with its camo rating. Gun handling skills are obvious. I just need the gun handling skills on this tank because it is kind of a derpy gun. Rapid loading because I want to get my reload down, and 6th Sense and Born Leader is just a sort of no-brainer for me. I run it on every single commander I have. So with those two setups, I now have a view range of 594 meters, a camo rating of 275 meters. I now go 76 kilometers an hour forwards, 15 kilometers an hour backwards, so every little helps in that regard. My turret traverse is now 42.81, so it's gone up ever so slightly, and the whole traverse is now 46.2 degrees a second, so that's gone up quite dramatically from what it was, and it does help you acquire targets and move your tank around as and when you need to. I now have a 25.48 power to weight ratio, so I think it's good enough to keep up with most of the tanks in Area 2, and I found that it's more than sort of adequate for what I need it for. Gun wise, I now have a 0.36 accuracy, which isn't the best, but it's a lot better than 0.4 than what it was. I now have a 2.7 second aim time, a 12.8 second reload on my HE and heat rounds, and a 15 second reload on my ATGMs. So what do I like to do with the Sheridan at the start of the battle? Well, I like to use my ATGMs off the bat, and the reason being I want to try and lower the total hit points of the enemy team down as much as possible with the ATGMs. I want to preserve my hit points and sort of try and fire from a position where I'm not going to be spotted, or that I'm able to retreat into cover where I need to, like this little central area here on Desfall that you've seen me come to on numerous occasions. And I don't have the camo rating to sort of go to the outskirts of the map, stay hidden, and fire with impunity, so I've come to this location and I have the firepower to help fend it off with the help of my medium and heavy tanks. And as you can see, the shell velocity on these ATGMs, it can be sort of tricky to sort of learn how to lead, but I was pretty happy with that shot. I did a little wiggle, and I'm getting used to firing the ATGMs. I didn't sort of try Cold War for quite a while after its release, but yeah, I'm getting used to the ATGMs now, and I'm getting used to sort of leading the targets and trying to find targets that I'm able to penetrate with them. Just a mention on the accuracy of this tank. The dispersion on turret traverse is absolutely god awful, so you have to be wary of that. Firing on the move, unless you're going for sort of a mimi shot, isn't advisable, and try and keep as still as possible, aim as long as possible, and try not to move during aiming, it's always best to try and fire at still targets, but you know, if you have to, just be wary that it does put off your shots quite a bit. So with this game already, we have picked up 4.4k damage, soon to be 5.5k damage as that ATGM goes in there, and it's nice and it's so satisfying seeing those massive numbers come up when you're firing at tanks that think they are unspotted and are just sat out in the open. And I'm just scanning the horizon here for shots at tanks that are in the background, but I don't see any, so I'm going to push forward a little bit more and try and get a shot into one of these British medium tanks. And unfortunately there we just do critical damage on the Centurion 9. I think we just hit the ground or just hit the front of his tracks. But I'm carrying on firing the ATGMs. I only have one left. This carries 9 ATGMs, which is really nice, and I find that they're the kind of best ammo choice for the start of the game, as I've just sort of explained, and it carries ample HE and heat rounds for you to be able to go in at the end of the battle and finish off the targets that you have lowered. And I find that this tactic works really well. I find that it helps your team out, and I've had a lot of success playing in this kind of style. So I'm going to go now for an ATGM on the rise, but the M60 says, no, I'll take that for you, mate, and we do 1200 damage. 12 which is, yeah, it's just so satisfying, basically. Yeah. What else can I say about it? I find this tank is an absolute blast to play, which is why it's one of the only tanks that I've actually put emblems on. You've got the little rhino emblem and the salt on the sides, and that's always an indication I really enjoy a tank, and I think it's a lot of fun. And here we're going to see what we can do with the HE rounds. And as you can see, I was just trying to sort of lean towards the side of the tracks. I'm trying to wait till he goes back behind the ridgeline, so that when I do track the M60A1 rise there, he won't be able to get his gun down on me, and I'm hoping my teammates will be able to get shots into him. But as you can see, there is only this sort of medium and heavy tank that might have shots into him. So now I'm just trying to play it a little bit cautiously. I mean, we are up by a sort of ratio of 2-to-1 on tanks, but I don't want to sort of lose my health right away. I want to try and make the most out of this battle. HE round auto-aimed, wherever we hit that M60, apart from his gun, we would have finished him off, and that's the beauty of having these 152mm caliber HE rounds, is that lovely sort of, I think it's got a blast radius of like 3 meters or something like that, and yeah, really useful. And that was a fantastic game in this tank. So we finished second we finished second place, picking up 6.4k direct damage, 7.3k direct damage, 944 assistance. We have 3 kills, pick up some nice silver at 136,000, and yeah, that's it for this replay. We'll hop on to the third and final replay, and I'll see you there. So we're now into the third and final replay of the video. We're here on El Alamein, and it's just been an absolute blast to play this tank. I'm looking forward to playing the Stingray, which comes up next, and again, that is another larger profile light tank that does have, you know, a bit more firepower than some of the other light tanks, but it's a trade-off for the camo, you know, and a little bit of the mobility. So at the start of this battle in the Sheridan, I like to sort of try and go through the middle of the map. I'm quick enough to sort of get to the location I want to get to, which is up here to the northwest of the map in this little brawling area. I'm just going to see what I can spot on the way here. Fortunately, we managed to evade 1 shell there, but we do take 1 shell from a tank in the distance. We do spot a couple of them up, but we don't get any assistance for it. So we did lose, you know, a little bit of damage, but it's nothing nothing too bad. And yeah, we move on, and we're going to try and have an impact in this game. So these little ridgelines here is where a lot of heavy tanks like to come in World War II and Cold War, at least I found anyway. And I can use my nice gun depression here on this ridgeline to try and get shots to tanks in the distance, and below me, if I just poke over, I might get lovely shots down into the sort of holes of the tanks that are below me. So we're going to aim up at this Mobat here. it's a relatively difficult shot because he's going backwards and forwards, and we just miss that MOBA, and that can be, you know, quite annoying because of the reload in this tank when you miss a shell. But when you do hit them, you find that the damage racks up very, very quickly. We have another attempt here on this BMP2, and we get a beautiful shot there for over 1,000 damage. And when these shells do go in, whether it's the heat, the HE or the ATGMs, you do find this damage goes up quickly, and that's why I think it's the best or one of the best damage dealing light tanks in Era 2. And it looks like the Stingray is quite a good damage dealer as well as something like the Object 934 that has ATGMs. Unfortunately, that was a hard penetration, you know, to go through with that T72M1, but we still do 270 sort of splash damage with the ATGM, and I can't complain about that. So we're up to 1300 damage. We've got 6 ATGMs left, and I'm just going to see what I can do. I don't really want to lose too much more health, but I want to risk it to get a lovely shot into the side of that Conqueror for 1100 damage. We get shot at with an ATGM, but it doesn't do any damage, and we only take damage from the Conqueror. And I'm just playing with fire a bit. I'm losing too many hit points for my normal style, but I'm just sort of seeing what I can get away with. And this is probably a game that I had before the first 2 replays, because you can see the reverse speed is a lot slower, and I was just getting too used to all the ATGMs, and I'm still relatively new to Cold War compared to people that have played it religiously from day one. We overlead that shell there, the ATGM, and we missed that T72AV, but we ducked down into cover, and yeah, we're just going to try again. It's going to be a difficult pen, but we have got the side of this tank, and we're just going to try and get it into the sideband. Luckily, it just goes in. That I didn't think that was going to penetrate, but you know, you're never going to know if you don't try. So we get another 900 odd damage there, and picking up some more damage, which takes our damage total to 3.4k. We're going to have another go here trying to finish off the T72AV. He's angled up, which is a difficult penetration. We only do 43 damage, and it can be frustrating when you don't penetrate the rounds, but when you do, you know, it's a barrel of laughs. You do a lot of damage and you absolutely decimate the opponents. So we have 2 ATGMs left, and we're just going to try and get one into this M60 here. That's a fairly juicy target for an ATGM like this, and we pick up 947 damage, taking our damage total to 4.4k and 469 assistance. So I'm just going to go back round here. Our cap is being contested, and I'm not sure whether I was trying to go for this cap, but I felt like I was spotted here. They know where I'm coming from, and if I tried to make the play for the cap, I feel like I would just get shot in the side and taken out before I get there. There's still 1 minute 26 on the cap, so I felt like I had time. And I've spotted this lovely target, the M50 Ontos there, which hasn't got any armour, and it's a small target, so I was quite proud of that shot with the ATGM. I've noticed this Sheridan's coming round, and we put an HE shell into the side of him. We evade his shell, and now we're just going to see play a game of chicken, see who reloads first and where he comes from. I'm using the third-person camera to see what location he's coming from. There is the smoke there, which is kind of scary, but he pops behind me. I react fairly slowly, but we get a lovely free aim shot into the Sheridan there to finish him off. There's only 40 seconds on the cap, and I'm just hoping someone can defend. The heavy tanks are in distance. Surely they can see, you know, the cap is being contested, and there's a shot there. And I've played this game long enough. I should have known just to go for the cap now, but we get a penetrating HE shot into that M60, finishing him off, picking up taking our damage total, I should say, to 7.4k damage. And there's the side of the M60. We're going to try and get another HE shot in. He gets shot, and we get the kill on that M60 there. And come on, please someone reset the cap. And it's at this point I realise that I've screwed up, and it should have been me going forward with my ability trying to reset the cap. Unfortunately, it's all over. We get a snapshot into the T72AV there just to finish the game off, and that was my fault there at the end. for the loss, but we still pick up you know, a really nice game, and you live and you learn, don't you? So we pick up 8.2k direct damage, 469 assistance, we get 3 kills, and we do twice as much as the next highest damage dealer on our team, and that just goes to show what you can be capable of. I've seen multiple 10k plus games from other people in this tank, and yeah, it's really good fun, and I hope you all enjoy it when you get to this tank. So that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the Sheridan in action in Cold War. Lots of videos to come out soon. I hope you all had a great Christmas. I wish you all the best for 2022, which is coming up in 2 days as this video goes out. I hope you all take care, and until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield, and bye for now.